I grew up in North Carolina, but I always talked pretty neutral. Well, pretty neutral in my estimation, compared to how a lot of folks around me talked. When I traveled to other parts, people would say I talked a bit funny. But I was more likely to think they was the ones talking funny. In case you was wondering, I'm talking Western North Carolina mountain talk right now. But I growed up in Central North Carolina, which has a different dialect. So, this ain't how I talk natural. How I talk natural is Standard American, which is just an American dialect that people can't really place geographically. But if you went about doing so methodically, it would center around somewhere in the Midwest. Standard American is one of the two main dialects of Global Standard English, the other being British Received Pronunciation. These two dialects are the basis for the English that serves as a second language, trade language, and lingua franca for billions of earthlings. So what's it like having a global language for a mother tongue? Well, it's both a convenience and a nuisance. It's convenient because I can travel the world and make myself understood without ever having to learn the local idiom. It's convenient because I can consume media and entertainment from around the world, much of which is in English or translated into English. But it's a nuisance because I can understand what a lot of belligerent, entitled mystery meats are saying. And because of the proliferation of anti-white, anti-Western, anti-colonial, anti-imperial, and other hostile ideologies directed against me in particular in many cases, it's usually something malicious, dishonest, self-serving. And it's a nuisance because it makes it harder to tell my own people apart from others. If you ain't never left the holler you growed up in, and you see some strange Jasper coming up yonder way, and he stops and talks like you ain't never heard before, you know he ain't from there. But if you're using the same language, in the same way, across an entire continent, or between them, just forget it. You know, itinerant people, traveling people, nomadic people, historically had a reputation for untrustworthiness, for being shady. And a large part of that is because trustworthiness originates in settled and long-standing patterns of personal, familial, social, and economic relations. If you're tied into the fabric of a place, in all of the ways, you have a reputation and incentives to make it a good one. But what's true of itinerant people must also be substantially true of rootless, atomistic people, consuming an undifferentiated global culture, not tied to any particular place. And as we've moved in that direction, trust has gone out the window. Regional dialects do tend to have a lower status and prestige. At least with the gatekeepers and enforcers of those things. And it ain't only southern and mountain dialects, by the way. Anything that sounds like New York or New Jersey sounds uneducated, low class. But whatever negative connotations it carries to us, it must carry positive or helpful ones too, to people from there, in order to persist in local usage. Let's not forget you can also have too much education. I mean, anytime you hear some peckerwood saying shit like problematic, or intersectionality, or cultural appropriation, you know you're dealing with an overeducated moron who spent a great deal of time and effort cultivating a stupidity too advanced to be founded in mere ignorance. Whenever you hear someone referring to things that are not texts as texts, you're dealing with a literary critic. And so on and so forth for various other categories of unsavory, degenerate, decadent, destructive, urbanite assholes. So let's turn that stigma around. Embrace your local dialects. Use them, develop them, cultivate them, evolve them. I mean, the end goal has got to be actually to lose mutual intelligibility with the vile, disgusting, virtue-signaling, social climbing bugman hordes, or the treacherous, faithless, backstabbing, parasitic elites who promulgate standard dialects, separate, speciate, profit,